Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode here of the Reading Roundup. My name is James, and today we're going to go ahead and take a look back at the latest news throughout the last week in Reading Football Club. Today, in this episode, we're going to go ahead and take a look at Reading's back-to-back away games as we got victories at Millwall, but a defeat at Sheffield United. We'll go ahead and round up and rate Reading's summer transfer window. We're going to go ahead and look at each individual signing and departure and talk about whether or not I think it was a good move and whether or not they've been good so far this season. And finally, we'll go ahead and take a look at Reading's Sunday lunchtime kickoff against Stoke as we are live on Sky for the first time this season. So to begin with, we'll go ahead and take a look at the Millwall game. And listen, it was another win for Reading. It was our third win on the trot. It was our third clean sheet in a row. And it's safe to say that Reading definitely came away from this game with high confidence. Listen, winning this game made us top of the table. It was absolutely crazy at the time. Look, for me, it was a strong defensive performance, and we were very compact and very tight. Listen, we limited Millwall to a minimal amount of chances, and I think that really does come down to how well this back three are playing as a back three. In this game, we went with Naby Sarr, Hutchinson, and we went with Tom Holmes. And listen, to me, that is three big, strong centre-backs that are going to be able to win you a lot in the air, in just tackling, and stand up their strikers really well. And I think this game really did show that. Millwall obviously are a team that like to play balls in the box. They're a team that like to win a lot of set pieces. And Reading really didn't struggle with it. They really did play well. The presence of Naby Sarr making his debut, he was absolutely excellent. And our goal even came from a set piece when we scored. Sam Hutchinson flick on, found Naby Sarr at the back post, and he was able to score 14 minutes into his Reading debut. And listen, absolutely fantastic from Reading. And in my opinion, we should have really came away with a bigger win. Jeff Hendrick and Shane Long really should have scored and should have made the game a lot more comfortable. Jeff Hendrick having a great chance, a good bit of build-up play with Tom Ince in the attacking area. Found him one-on-one with Bartosz Belkowski, and he put the ball straight at him and really should have been doing better with that chance, in my opinion. It's the same with Shane Long as well. Shane Long was put through by Jeff Hendrick this time and played him through one-on-one, but his shot went wide of the target. But listen, Reading weren't made to rue these chances because we did come away with the 1-0 win at the Den. And I think you got to say a big fair play to Paul Ince because tactically he got that spot on, and also a big fair play to the defence as well. It was a game where Lucas João seemed to struggle, and it seems like a lot of Reading fans wanted Lucas João off the pitch. He really did struggle in this game, and I think that was based down to us not really playing around his style of play at the moment. And I think that's going to be really interesting to see what happens going forward. Now, there's been talk about in Turkey, Fenerbahce wanting to take on Lucas João, but their transfer window doesn't finish for another 6 days. Now, I don't see us selling João, but at the end of the day, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens between now and January, especially with our style of play and the way we play football now, because it's not suited to Lucas João, and it's not really going to benefit him too much with this pressing style of play, because that's not the way that Lucas João plays. Listen, going back to what I said about the defence being resilient and Reading playing great, last year Reading would have lost this game. And this year, or they would have drew this game or lost it. They definitely would have lost the lead. But this year we fought hard and we really didn't let the lead go. And I thought it was absolutely fantastic from the players and definitely tactically from Paul Ince as well. Listen, Millwall made chances, but they didn't make clear-cut chances. Joe Lumley was forced to make one save in this game, and that was in the first half. That was when it was still at 0-0. So I think it just goes to show how good the centre-backs played, how good the wing-backs played, and how good Loom was breaking up the play once again. We'll go ahead and look at the Sheffield United game now. Obviously, it was a little bit different, this game. We were defeated by Sheffield United by 4-0. Obviously, we've just spoke about how great and resilient and defensively brilliant Reading were in the Millwall game. But this game was just so different. And I think that just comes down to the quality of opposition. Listen, Sheffield United were just really, really good. The style of play that they play, the passing football, it just opened up the defence of Reading, and the midfield were really, really struggling in this game, I thought. This was the first game where I really did notice that Loom didn't really play too well. And Tom McIntyre was lost in that centre midfield position. Personally think that was the wrong decision to have him playing in the centre of midfield. Look, first half, I think we should have been behind by more than one goal. I really do. Second half, Sheffield United were absolutely ruthless though, scoring 3 goals straight from kickoff, almost from a corner. Then they scored another 2 in the 60th and then late on as well. Look, the final score was 4-0. I think Paul Ince tactically got it a little bit wrong. I think Tom McIntyre in the midfield obviously was a mistake. I also think we didn't really press too much. We kind of sat back, let Sheffield United play their style of football. We didn't really put too much pressure on them. But when we did put pressure on them, they seemed to kind of have not Reading's number, but Reading seemed to get back into the game slowly. It was 10 minutes, 15 minutes before the end of the first half, and I thought Reading started pressing Sheffield United, and they started to make chances. I mean, Lucas Well had a chance where we were 3-on-1. I think it was him, Loom, and Tom Ince were all up there. There's 3 of them, and the one Sheffield United defender was able to get the ball back. I think it was Well that had it, and he cut back, and it just got tackled, and, squaring that there could have put the game at 1-1, and you never know what happens from there on. Does Sheffield United come out in the second half and score straight from kickoff? Probably not. So it could have been definitely could have been a different result, but Sheffield United definitely did deserve to come away the winners. Don't get me wrong. That second half performance was just ruthless. The first half performance, they were looking too much for the extra pass, but the second half definitely were the better of the two sides, and the first half were definitely the better of the two sides, and throughout the whole game really better of the two sides. But I think they're going to be a team that's going to be going for promotion this year. I mean, I spoke about it in the Reading Roundup a few weeks ago when we did our season preview. I think Sheffield United are going to be going up this year. I really do. I think it'll be them, Watford and Norwich were the 3 teams that I tipped for promotion at the time. And look, they seem great. I mean, I also said Rotherham are going to go down, and they've had a nice unbeaten start to the season. So, you get some right, you get some wrong. But yeah, the Sheffield United game, look, you win some, you lose some. Unfortunately, this is a game where we did get beat, and I just thought we just got absolutely ran out by the better team, and you just saw the absolute quality in the two sides. I mean, you forget, this is a Sheffield United team that has spent 30 plus million on strikers in Rhian Brewster. They've spent 20 plus million on midfielders like Sander Berg. Sander Berg probably cost more than what the whole Reading squad combined cost. When you look at the team that we have with loans and free transfers, the only real players that we've paid transfer fees in that team right now, we've got Lucas Schwal, and that's maybe about it. I mean, when you run through the starting 11 that started there, you got Lumley, who was in on loan. You got Junior Hoylett, who came on a free. Yeardom came on a free years ago. Holmes, Sarr, and Hutchinson, they were all free transfers. McIntyre's an academy boy, or obviously Holmes is an academy boy. McIntyre's an academy boy. You've got Hendrick, who's a loan. You've got... who else is there? Loom that's a loan. Then you've got Ince that's a free transfer. And Joao, who cost us, 3.5 to 5 million odd pounds. So, the whole team there combined is almost no transfer fees apart from Joao. So, it's yeah, you can see why we're going to get beat in a lot of games this year. And I really do think that's going to be the case. I still think it's going to be a struggle this season. I think we're going to be finishing about mid to lower table. But... it's the matter of what we've done and who we've brought in. I think is still good no matter what, the fees and stuff like that, but it's just going to be the case of that throughout this season, unfortunately, I think. So moving into our next topic then, and our second to last topic, there's not really too many to dwell on this week. We're going to go ahead and review Reading's transfer window. It's probably going to be a little bit of a longer segment, if I'm honest. Obviously we've had a lot of ins and we've had a lot of outs going on this summer. In terms of the ins, obviously haven't been able to spend any money. We've obviously had a transfer embargo from the EFL, so making signings has been a little bit of a difficulty. If a player's played in the Championship or above, they've had to get EFL clearance. So anybody that we sign that way, we have to get clearance from the EFL to confirm whether or not we can sign them. We were also asked to reduce our wage bill significantly, so that's obviously taken a factor into this season as well in terms of the wages that we can offer other teams. And other players. So, going into it then, we'll look at the ins. So our first signing of the season was a goalkeeper on loan. Listen, a loan spot has been taken up by a goalkeeper there, and that's been a little bit of a controversial talk on Twitter so far this season. Obviously, in a Championship matchday squad, you can only have 5 loans. And, the last season, a couple of seasons ago, we had 6 loans coming in, so it meant that one person was always dropped out of the squad. Now, with Joe Lumley, it seems like all the Middlesbrough fans hate him. It seems like the Middlesbrough, the club, hate him as well. So, I feel like maybe it could have been an option where he could have had his contract cancelled and we could have signed him in on a free transfer. Obviously, we've not wasted a loan opportunity, but we've used up one of our loans with Joe Lumley. But in my opinion, I think he's done well so far this season. He's kept 2 clean sheets. Obviously, he did have a big wobbler against Rotherham, where he conceded 4 goals. And in that first half, definitely, in my opinion, should have been taken off the pitch. But But he came back and he bounced back on the Wednesday against Blackburn and kept a clean sheet. Kept a clean sheet as well against Millwall away. Obviously did concede 4 against Sheffield United again, but in my opinion, it weren't really his fault massively for the goals. He made a good save for it. It could have been 5 or 6 if it wasn't for Lumley and net. So I think he's done quite well, in my opinion. And listen, I just got to say fair play. I'm going to stick to my keeper. And yeah, I don't mind Joe Lumley. So for me, he's been a good signing so far. Next up is Tom Ince on a free, and I've described him as a quality signing and future potential captain material. Now, obviously, we've got the likes of Holmes, we've got the likes of Yeardom, McIntyre in the squad, but we all want them to be the captains. But you watch the way Tom Ince walks around the pitch, and he leads from the front. He definitely pushes the team onwards. He definitely shouts at players. He makes players want to play better. And in my opinion, he's got that quality in him where he can still pull off a bit of skill. He can still has the pace to run at players. He's still got that rocket of a shot, which we obviously saw in the Cardiff game. He doesn't stop running as well. And that's one thing about Tom Ince that has just really been fantastic this season. We're playing him more in a shadow striker role where he's playing just behind the striker, maybe as like a false 9 type of player. And for me, Tom Ince has been an absolutely fantastic signing so far since he's come to the club. Dean Bazounis was up next. He was also a free transfer, obviously signing in from Sutton. Listen, he's a backup goalkeeper and he's done well when he's had to come in. He's kept a clean sheet in his one game when he played against Middlesbrough, when obviously Lumley was cut, league tied because of his loan. So yeah, just fair play to Dean Bazounis. Not really too much I can touch on him, to be honest. Next up, we got Tyrese Forner, who we brought in on loan from Nottingham Forest. I think he's had good moments and he's definitely been a bit lost in games at times as well. I think he's been a bit of a mix so far since coming to the club, has Tyrese Forner. He's definitely had some good parts and definitely had some bad. But I think he's been decent overall with Tyrese Forner. I think he's a young player that's impressionable, and I think working under Paul Ince is going to be really important for him, especially because if Paul Ince has such a big influence, was such a good midfielder as well back in his day, he can definitely have an influence over Forner. Next up is Jeff Hendrick, and again, I think it's a good player. I think, again, sometimes he gets a little bit lost in that midfield, but he can definitely set up chances. His passing ability is very good, and he's definitely created some chances this season where he's just found a pass out of nowhere. And yeah, Jeff Hendrick, I think, has been decent. I don't think he's been great, but I think he's been decent, and I'm looking forward to seeing more from him. I think, again, another good signing him on loan from Newcastle. We then got Shane Long on a free from Southampton, and in my opinion, Shane Long has played very well. He's not just been a nostalgia signing, which I think a lot of people thought when Shane Long came to Reading. Obviously, he scored on his re-debut at the Select Carleton Stadium. He's worked hard up front, and I think him and Tom Ince have a good little partnership up front, where they both just bomb straight at the defenders and don't give them any time to breathe. Really like the way that Shane Long's played this season, and in my opinion, should be a starter over Lucas Schwal, especially in the system that we're playing at the moment. Next up, we signed Sam Hutchinson on a free transfer from Sheffield Wednesday. And again, I think he's a good player. I think he's been a quality centre-back for us so far, and he's willing to do the dirty work, which is something that Reading have really missed for the last few years. They've missed someone that's just really been able to make a tackle, stop momentum, and really calm the game down. Obviously, he's an experienced head, and he's played years for Sheffield Wednesday in both the Championship and League One. And yeah, I think he's been a decent signing for us so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing more from him. Definitely been one of my players that I like to watch, and I'm thinking, yeah, I like Sam Hutchinson. We then signed Nesta Guinness-Walker after he was released on a free from Wimbledon. In my opinion, he was a little bit shaky to start off. Really was a bit shaky, to be honest. Playing at left wing back, I think defensively he was very poor in his first couple of games. But then after that, he started to slowly improve, and I think he's definitely gone on and been a lot better. That game against Blackburn, where he did get injured, was definitely his best game in a Reading shirt, and I think that was really everyone's best game in a Reading shirt this season. He really did play well, and I had to tip my hat to him and say fair play, because he definitely proved me wrong. Defensively, I thought he was solid, and going forward, he also played quite well. Obviously, since his injury, he's lost his place out to Junior Hoylett at left wing back, who I think's filled in quite nicely as well. Next up, we signed Mamadou Loum on a loan from Porto, and in my opinion, he's been one of our best players so far this season, probably been the player of the season. Listen, he's very good. He keeps the defence very well protected, and he seems to just win everything in the air. He seems to win everything on the feet, and he just seems to be a magnet to the ball when teams want to counter. He also likes to avoid a yellow card. If you notice, when he tackles players, he can accumulate a lot of fouls, and he seems to avoid the booking quite a bit. So Mamadou Loum has been a fantastic signing for Reading so far, and yeah, really looking forward to seeing him more this season. And obviously, we do have the option to buy him for €5 million at the end of his loan. And finally, the last transfer in that Reading have made this season was one that we have not spoke about just yet. It is, well actually there's another one. There's Naby Sarr, who we signed on a free from Huddersfield, who was the next signing that we did sign. I just realised I've missed that one off there. Naby Sarr, obviously we signed from Huddersfield on a free transfer. Again, I think he's a big quality, experienced centre-back, especially at championship level, who definitely can go on to do something for Reading. Next up is the final transfer that we have made, and we have finally brought back on loan from Chelsea our left wing back Baba Rahman, and I'm very happy that he's back at the club. We've now got a left wing back, and we've also got a backup left wing back. I'm glad he's home, and he seems to absolutely love Reading. The rumour is that he's turned down a move to West Brom to come to Reading, so he definitely wanted to come back home, and even in his interview described Reading as home, which is going to win the fans over every single time. So looking at the players that we had out, I'm just going to run through this one a little bit more quicker as we had quite a lot of players leave. John Swift went to West Brom. Obviously a little bit disappointed that John Swift did leave. Listen, Swift was a quality player, but I think as well his time at Reading kind of came to an end. He definitely kept us up last season, so we've got to thank him for that. But I think with a lot of these players, it was time for a lot of the old guard to kind of leave and a new fresh Reading to kind of come through. And I think that's really shown so far this season. We then had Ethan Bristow, who left to go to Tranmere. Linford Saki then left as well to go to Bolton. Next up was our former midfield pair, as Josh Laurent and Andy Rinomhota both left the club. Josh Laurent went on to sign for Stoke, and so far hasn't really had too much success. And the same with Andy Rinomhota, who hasn't had too much success either, getting booted in the head on his Reading return. Josh Laurent obviously supposedly injured at the moment, so he won't be making a return to the Select Car Leasing Stadium come Sunday. We then had Brandon Barker leave as he rejoined his former manager, Neil Lennon, at Omonia Nicosia. I think it's like a Cyprus team. Tyrell Ashcroft then left to go and join Tottenham Hotspur. Alan Halilovic left to join Riker. Luke Southwood left on loan to join Cheltenham. Michael Morrison left the club after he was released on a free transfer for Portsmouth. Imari Samuels has left Brighton on a free. Jarrell Dorset went on loan to Kilmarnock. The summer transfer saga of George Puskas was finally put to bed when he joined Genoa on loan. And then we've had Oyen Nyland, Mark McNulty, Felipe Aruna and Terrell Thomas not find clubs just yet. I think the players that we really will miss the most there, like I said, is the three big players, the three players of the old guard. But I think it's time for them to move on, and I think it was time for us to have a fresh new start as well. So finally, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Stoke game coming up on Sunday. It's going to be live on Sky. It's the first game that Reading have had on Sky so far this season. So let's hope the curse of Reading being on Sky doesn't occur here. Listen, I think it's going to be difficult to say how Stoke are going to be in this game. They're under new management. Obviously, Alex Neil coming from Sunderland. So we don't really know how they're going to be. I don't know if they're going to be ready with his tactics. I don't know if they're going to come out like a house on fire to try and impress the new boss. So it's going to be a really difficult one really to call. I'm hoping that they obviously don't come out like a house on fire and that they are struggling and that they carry on with the Stoke that we've seen so far this season. But with new managers, you never know how it's going to go. In terms of their danger options, I've got Lewis Baker as their danger man, someone who last season played so well for them when he came into the squad. And obviously we know what Lewis Baker is about, obviously having him at Reading previously. Listen, they've got great attacking options as well. Dwight Gale and Tyrese Campbell are just experienced heads, and they've got fantastic experience in the Championship, should I say. And they're definitely known as goal scorers. They've also got Liam Delap, former Stoke legend Rory Delap's son. Don't know if his throw-ins are going to be as big, though. So he's obviously an option that they have as well to bring on. They've got Tariq Fosu as well, and they've got some really good options to potentially bring on of Stoke. So it could be maybe a difficult fixture for Reading. We'll go ahead and take a look at who I'm going to pick for a starting 11 though. I've got Joe Lumley in goal at the moment. Listen, I think Joe Lumley's our main goalkeeper. There's not really too much else I can say in regards to that. I've then got Tom Holmes, Hutchinson and McIntyre playing across the back three. Listen, Naby Sarr is supposedly injured and he came off at half-time against Sheffield United. So, listen, I'm going to have to pick that back three right now. Holmes and McIntyre and Hutchinson seem to do all right in pre-season, and they seem to be good there together recently. So listen, the experience of Hutchinson I'm hoping can calm down the youthfulness of Holmes and McIntyre, and the youthfulness can carry the legs and the oldness of Sam Hutchinson throughout this game. I've then gone with our Ghanaian wingbacks in Baba Rahman and Andy Yiadom to play as our left wingback and right wingback. Happy to see Baba back at the club, and obviously Yids is our captain and just our most influential player. We've then got Tyrese Forner, Mamadou Loum and Jeff Hendrick in the midfield. I think, again, it's our core three midfield players. Haven't really got too many options other than them three. I've then got Tom Ince and Shane Long playing up front. I'm hoping maybe we might see a slow return of Yaku Mate on the bench potentially in this game as like a surprise, or maybe like an Ovia Jaria, but I'm not counting my blessings too much. So I'm going to go with a 1-0 win to Reading here. I'm quietly confident in this game. This season at the Select Carleton Stadium, it's been Fortress SCL. We've played well. We've won 3 out of 3. We've conceded 1, and we've scored 3, 4... We've scored 6. So we've obviously done quite well so far at the SCL. I'm going to go with a 1-0 win in this game though. I think we're going to do it. It's going to be on Sky. Players are going to want to play a little bit better. Lone players are going to want to impress their parent clubs. So I'm hoping we can do something there. So a 1-0 win is what I'm going for. And Shane Long is going to be the man to score for Reading live on Sky. So that's going to be it for today's Reading Roundup episode. I hope you have all enjoyed it. My name's been James, and we'll go ahead and see you on Sunday for our match review of the game against Stoke. Let's hope we come out with the win. My name's been James, and we'll see you all in the next one. See ya then.